Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, August 4th, and hopefully you're all doing well. If you're also a Canadian living in British Columbia, happy British Columbia Day to you. I believe it's also Alberta Day, and there's a few other celebrations as well. I think there's something going on in Ontario. So if you're a Canadian watching this, happy celebrations to you too. If you're from around the world, then, hopefully you're enjoying your day as well. Before I get into today's topic, I wanted to give you just a bit of a quick life update. One of the reasons why I haven't been posting that much is that I've been kind of battling some health issues the last few months. So I've been having chronic food poisoning, stomach pains, and I've been going for different testing and stuff like that. And just my energy has been super, super low. So besides just doing my job and seeing friends and family, like I haven't really been doing too much besides that. Maybe, okay, throw in the gym too. But overall, my life has been pretty boring, and I haven't had the energy to make videos. But I've been slowly making a comeback. I think I have some things on the way to help me progress back into my health. So, yeah, just wanted to give you a quick update. So, let's get into today's topic. Going for it, why big dreams still matter in today's economy. If you're kind of like me and many other young people, I've noticed there's a big trend of a lot of people being depressed and just frustrated with the current situation. Obviously, it's going to be different in everyone's country, but here in Canada, there's a lot of youth unemployment. People are giving up trying to find first jobs. There's contention between, Canadian-born Canadians and international students or foreign-born Canadians now. There's just a lot of contention in the world, right? There's a lot of unemployment. There's uncertainty around AI taking jobs. Why should I learn a trade or a specific skill set if it's going to be gone 5, 10 years in AI? So there's a lot of uncertainty. So um, you need to give your life meaning, and that's really the reason number one. Big goals require some big meaning in your life, um, and it gives you like a sense of purpose. So throughout all this chaos, throughout all this stuff, you say, "Hey, listen, I promise to go to church every week for the next month." Let's just say that's your example. You want to be a better Christian or Catholic or Buddhist or whatever you are. Maybe you want to attend that religious ceremony every week. You can do that, and that's still a purposely meaningful goal, right? Maybe it's to build up a 3 month emergency fund. So, hey, there's a lot of uncertainty. Maybe I will lose my job this year, but hey, let me try to minimize my debts and build up some emergency funds so that if I do um, end up, losing my job, then we still have that cash available. Despite all kind of the chaos surrounding our lives on the external, we can still do an internal report and say, okay, what can we do, right? So um, you have to have a sense of meaning in whatever you're kind of putting your mind towards. And I think even for small goals, this works too, right? Like for myself, I'm just laughing because I'm looking around here. My place is kind of a mess right now, and one of my goals is to try to clean my apartment fully every week. And something I've been doing kind of fairly well since I lived here is to just do a small chore every day. Um, it doesn't really matter how small the chore is. That could be as simple as, tidying up the shelf over there or taking out the garbage or something like that. It doesn't have to be, okay, I have to clean all the walls and clean the bathroom, floor to ceiling and stuff like that. No, it can be small. So, yeah, you can just break down your goals, and really that can help give you a sense of meaning. Like, goals help you give meaning to life. And I'm sure there's a lot of philosophers out there that talk about this. Yeah, goals do give your life some meaning, so don't discredit them. And especially in a time of chaos and time of uncertainty, I wouldn't discredit them right now. Point number two, the misery becomes more manageable. So maybe you're like me and you're kind of getting down, and maybe your economic prospects, or maybe it's dating, right? Maybe it's having troubles getting a date. That's a big issue for a lot of young men right now, right? It's just this constant rejection, or the dating apps not having favorable algorithms anymore, unless you're in the top 10%. So if you give yourself some sort of goal, set yourself towards, then it can really help manage some of that downside as well, right? So if you're always kind of depressed about maybe a lack of finances or a lack of dates, if you say, hey, listen, this is my goal, this is what I want to do, you can, right? And you can break it down into small bits, right? So say if your thing is losing weight, that's one of mine too. I've always struggled with that with my whole life. Maybe you're skinny watching this, but I've always had troubles losing weight. I'm a big guy, so for me, one of the steps is, okay, first off, I have to figure out what's going on with my health, right? And so once that's sorted, I can know what I can and can't do. Maybe I'm eating foods that I'm allergic to, right? So doing an allergy test, blood work, checking for parasites or other kind of stomach or bowel issues. That's what I'm going to go through, right? So that's the step one. And then step number two is just moderating what I do have, right? Um, at least where I am in Vancouver, it's really common to do like summer drinking here because we only have like 3-4 months of really good weather. So it's really common to see people drinking on the patios or going for drinks at the casino or what have you, going to parties, because people want to capitalize on that short period of good weather, right? So it's easy to get suckered in. But even now, when I go to different events, potentially work events too, it's like, maybe I'll just stick to the non-alcoholic drinks. Maybe I'll switch out, a cocktail for just a juice or, a bubbly if they have it, right? So like some sort of club soda or 0-calorie sparkling water. So that's one thing you can do. Those little bits, and especially the planning side, can really chip away at those feelings of misery in yourself, right? And finally, just the last one, and maybe it's kind of related to the first one as well. It just gives your life some focus. So, maybe you are blessed with a good job right now, right? And you're like, hey, maybe you're making $100,000 a year, but your living expenses is $50,000, and maybe you're putting some aside. Maybe you're, saving up for that trip or that wedding you're gonna have next year, or what have you. My finances are not as clean as it could be. I'm wasting a lot just because I'm bored. I'm gonna go to the cafe. I'm gonna go buy some stuff on Amazon. I'm going to go buy the extra money on Walmart, or when I go to Walmart or do my grocery shopping, instead of spending $150, I'm going to spend $250 because I'm bored. I want to try these new foods. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with that as long as you budget for it. So yeah, you just got to be, but like, I guess what I'm saying is like, once you have a plan for that money, it's going to go a lot farther. Right. And then when you do want to splurge on those extra groceries or those Amazon purchases or what have you, you have it all set aside. And that's really going to set yourself up for success. I struggle with this. So one of my goals for this month is to actually find a budgeting app that works well, just so I don't have that guilt of overspending, right? Especially on entertainment or, going out to eat, stuff like that. So if you have any recommendations for budgeting apps that I should check out, I'll leave them in the comments below. So when you're focusing on a specific goal, your mind kind of becomes creative. So if you say, hey, I want to save $50,000 for a down payment for a home, and you say, oh, I only have maybe 10 grand set aside, and I want to buy a home by the end of next year. So, okay, you have 18 months to make 40 grand and put it in this account. What are you going to do? Well, okay, maybe you can put in another 10 grand from your job. And if you really save, you can save an extra 10 grand. So you're at 20 grand. Okay, you still have a gap at 30 grand. So how are you going to make 30 grand in 18 months? And then you start doing, your mind gets creative, right? So maybe that's a side hustle. Maybe it's like DoorDash or Uber Eats or what have you. Maybe that's buying and selling Pokemon cards on Facebook and on eBay. Maybe it's, I don't know, offering tutoring services or bookkeeping or whatever your skills are, right? And applying that towards an extra goal. So you'd be surprised on how creative your mind can get, especially when you have a goal set aside. So just want to make a quick video for everyone here. Those are 3 things I've been kind of focusing on over the last month, going for those big goals, going for those big wins. And yeah, if they don't work out, then you still learn. And that's the last thing I want to touch on too. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And that's kind of corny. And yeah, it's an old kind of cliche saying. But really, I've had this happen so many times. You don't know what's out there until you actually go and start, right? So sometimes you think, okay, I'll go to school here, get a job, work this job, and then jump over here and I'll do this, and I'll pop over to the next company and retire, right? Okay, you can do that, but sometimes what you'll see is, hey, I'll start in that accounting job. Oh, in that accounting job, now I'm learning about say the fishing industry. Oh, in the fishing industry, because I'm doing bookkeeping and tax returns for fishing businesses, I make a bunch of fishing contacts, and then they invite me to fishing trips. Oh, then I go on those fishing trips, and then I learn, hey, I actually really enjoy fishing. And then because I do the books and everything, I get invited to be a partner at an upcoming fishery. And then you go into the fishery industry, and then you meet people there. Then you learn about fisheries across, your province or state, and then it's just thing after thing after thing after thing, and you have no idea where life can take you, right? So maybe you start in one industry, and then a few months, few years later, you're doing something completely different, and you have a whole set of new skill sets. So yeah, don't discredit that. That's the kind of the really the fun part about something about going for these big goals is like, sure, you have one thing in mind, and you might discover a bunch of things on the side too. This can be applied to anything, right? It's not just career. It could be fitness. It could be, you know, trading games like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't know. That's what I just got into. I was just I saw some Yu-Gi-Oh packs the other day at the dollar store, and I said, hey, screw it, let me buy a pack, and then I bought one just for old time's sake. I used to play as a kid, and I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And then I just kind of binged on it and started learning about the new Yu-Gi-Oh cards and all the sets coming out. And anyways, that's just one example. There's a lot of things going on out there. So anyways, in closing, I wanted to ask you guys as well, what do you want to see from me? Like, I'm 30 years old. I'm living in Vancouver, BC. I've lived here my whole life. I've done some global traveling, but mostly resided within the Vancouver, British Columbia area. If there's things you want to know about me, or things you want to help with in your 20s, or some clarity, let me know in the comments below. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This is Mike, and I'm out. Bye.